What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Paco Luciano back with another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to a video by my boy Kayleen on YouTube called The Entire History of the AFL, I guess. So if you are an American, make sure you subscribe to him so he can educate you on all things AFL. And y'all already know what it is. I'm not going to waste y'all time. We're just going to get right into the reaction video.
How does a sport attract 300,000 fans a week, garner millions of TV viewers, and become the national sport of a country, all in the span of just 160 years? This is the entire history of the AFL.
Okay, the entire history.
Victorian cricket captain Tom Wills invented Australian rules football in 1858 as a way for cricketers to keep fit during the winter. How did Wills come up with the idea? He took inspiration from the indigenous sport of Mangrook, where teams kick and mark a circular ball made from possum skin and filled with charcoal. The aim of Mangrook was to simply display better skills than your opposition, done through outstanding kicking or...
Keep in mind, make sure y'all go do y'all research on Mangrook in the Australian history of the game, Mangrook in the indigenous Australians. That's all I'm going to say.
high leaping marks. The game had no scoring system,
that was beautiful.
and the matches began with the best player on the field simply starting with the ball. Wills held the first official game of Australian rules football that same year. It was played between Victorian schools Scotch College and Melbourne Grammar on the parklands just outside the MCG. The match was first team to kick 2 goals wins,
oh, that's beautiful.
But after 3 consecutive Saturdays of play,
damn, kick 2 goals to win is kind of crazy though.
And the scoreline was stuck at 1 goal apiece. Probably had something to do with the ground being 4 times the size of the MCG. Interestingly enough, both teams were allowed to choose their own umpires for the match. If only the Crows had that choice. 1858 saw the creation of Aussie rules' oldest team, the Melbourne Football Club. Melbourne played their first match against the South Yarra Football Club in late September and were able to secure the win. For this game, both teams played with 26 men aside. The Geelong Football Club followed Melbourne's footsteps in 1859, becoming just the second Aussie rules team in the sport's so far short history. 1859 was also the same year that Tom Wills created the first 10 rules of Aussie rules.
The first 10
Many of
rules?
these rules are still used to
in
this
1859?
day, including the coin toss, distance between goalposts, marking, out of bounds, and handball rules. Straight after these rule changes,
so he created
Aussie
long-standing, long-lasting
rules.
rules.
Occurrence at a huge number of parks all across Melbourne. The next year, in 1860, politician John Brodie Spence formed the Adelaide Football Club, the first South Australian Aussie rules team in history. It's important to note that this is not the same Adelaide team that roams the AFL today. By 1864, Carlton had been established, quickly followed by the formation of Queensland's first Aussie rules team.
Let's go back to that. So you got Queensland, which has Brisbane and Cairns. I hope I'm saying that right. Then you have Australia, which has Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, and Hobart. So it sounds like to me the first team started in Melbourne, Adelaide, and Brisbane.
Followed by the formation of Queensland's first Aussie rules team, the Brisbane Football Club, in 1866. Then came the arrival of many other new teams across the country, including North Melbourne in 1869, Port Adelaide in 1870, Essendon in 1872, St Kilda in 1873, and South Melbourne, the current Sydney Swans, in 1874. The newfound sport of Aussie rules was starting to spread all throughout Australia, gaining nationwide recognition in the process. New Zealand became just the second country to adopt Aussie rules in 1868, and it saw great success.
Shout out to New Zealand in 1868. That's beautiful.
This expanded to the point where nowadays, 5 of New Zealand's 16 regions have their own organised competitions. New Zealand was even the AFL's country of choice for the first match outside of Australia in 2013, which saw Sydney beat St Kilda by 16 points at Wellington Stadium. By the 1870s, games were being hosted at the MCG, regularly attracting crowds.
The MCG is the mecca of all arenas. It can sit up to like 100,000 plus people.
10,000 people, eager to witness this new and unique sport. The SANFL was created in 1877 and is currently the oldest state league competition in Australia. But wouldn't the oldest league be the VFL? Well, no, the VFL was surprisingly created a week later. Kind of.
Wow.
You see, these leagues weren't called the VFL and SANFL. They were called the VFA and the SAFA. The
Okay.
Victorian Football Association and South Australian Football Association,
The
respectively.
Victorian and South Australian. Okay.
The first interstate match between Victoria and South Australia was played in 1879, where Victoria destroyed SA 56-3.
Oh my goodness.
10,000 strong crowd showed the popularity of the concept, which paved way for the future State of Origins and E.J. Whitten Legends matches. South Tasmania and Queensland soon opened their own leagues that same year, and New South Wales followed suit in 1881, before Western Australia did so as well in 1885. In 1888, Championship of Australia was launched, a football tournament between all clubs from the Victorian, South Australian, Western Australian and Tasmanian football leagues.
What year was that?
South of Australia was launched.
So they started counting championships in 1888. So anything played before 1888 is not a championship. It's kind of crazy.
A football tournament between all clubs from the Victorian, South Australian, Western Australian and Tasmanian football leagues.
A football tournament? That's what's up. God damn, my boy, you gonna ruin my fucking video.
And Tasmanian football leagues. The first year of competition saw Norwood and South Melbourne face off in 3 consecutive matches at Kensington Oval in South Australia, with Norwood winning every game and claiming the championship.
Damn.
From that point on, the winner was decided by
Norwood.
a singular grand final instead. The tournament eventually ended in 1975, with Port Adelaide winning the most titles, accumulating 4 across the 19 total seasons. The VFL was formed in
Port Adelaide was
1896,
dominant up until
with 8 clubs to its name.
1975.
All the current Victorian teams, except for Hawthorn, North Melbourne, Richmond, and the Western Bulldogs. Team sizes reduced from 20 per side to 18, while most players were now getting paid, thanks to the Australian economy seeing high growth.
Shouts out to the Australian economy for
VFL
growing.
game commenced in 18...
Shout out to the Australian economy for growing. And it's crazy how the league only started with 8 teams. But I guess that's every sport in every major league, I guess you can say. They started off with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, 10 teams, and then they grew from there. But the first match was played in 1897.
Cricket ground.
Okay.
In this game, Fitzroy defeated Carlton 49-16.
Okay, Fitzroy.
1908 saw clubs
Fitzroy is the Melbourne Lions.
Accepted into the VFL.
Fitzroy is the Brisbane Lions, for those who don't know.
This was the same year that the first National Carnival was held in Melbourne, an interstate competition between nearly every state, with the addition of New Zealand. These carnivals continued until 1977, when they would transform into the State of Origin competition.
Okay.
In 1915, the first recorded women's football match was held in Western Australia.
Wow, so the game's been around since 1915 for the women?
A structure to commemorate the 60,000 soldiers killed in the gunfire of World War I.
Damn.
All major football leagues were suspended for their 1916 seasons, except for the VFL. Why exactly? Well,
yeah,
there
why?
was
What the
war
fuck?
going on at the time called World War I. Now, the VFL did continue, but with only 4 of its 8 teams, making Fitzroy's 1916 premiership not as fulfilling for the club as it should have been.
Well, I don't know if we can really count that. 4 teams, you ain't even got all the competition. The Brisbane Lions need to have a conversation.
Brownlow Medal was introduced in 1924 as a way to recognise the best and fairest player in the VFL for a particular season. The medal was named after former Geelong player and VFL president Charles Brownlow, to honour the tremendous respect he earned from the entire football community throughout his prestigious career. 1925 was the year that
Shout out to Charles
Footscray,
Brownlow.
Hawthorn and North Melbourne joined the VFL. So at this point, the VFL had a total of 12 teams. The 1929 season was record-breaking, with Gordon Coventry becoming the first player in the VFL, WAFL or SANFL to kick 100 goals in a season, surpassing it with an impressive 124 goals. SANFL
that boy was out there
Ken
balling.
Farmer would score 100 goals in the 1930 season, 1 year later, and continue the feat for an astounding 10 seasons in a row afterwards.
Oh my
Coventry
goodness.
opened the goal-scoring floodgates.
He might be the best of all time. Fuckers be talking about here.
Wide open. While the VFL continued throughout all of World War II, the same cannot be said for the SANFL, which was suspended for 3 years, from 1942 to 1945. However, the VFL did lose Geelong, who withdrew from the competition for 2 years, rejoining
Why would Geelong
in
do that?
1944.
Why would
By
you withdraw and then
1945,
rejoin?
the SANFL competition had resumed. The
Okay.
first official All-Australian
Probably still
team
because of
was
the war,
selected
maybe.
in 1953, and based on players' performances at the Australian Football Carnival of that year, not their performance throughout the season, as it's based on today. In that 1953 side was John Coleman, someone we'll be talking about in just a moment. 1958 was a historic year for the game of Australian rules football, as it celebrated the 100th year of the sport's history.
Wow.
A plaque was created to celebrate the milestone, and it remains at the MCG to this day. The 1970 grand final between Collingwood and Carlton amassed an enormous crowd of 121,000 people.
Oh my God,
making it the largest
121?
attendance for an Australian rules football game in history up until that point. That record still hasn't been broken to this day. Carlton won the grand final by 10 points. Before 1976,
121,000?
each football game only had one field umpire, but 1976 saw the introduction of the two-umpire system, which obviously helped increase the accuracy of officiating decisions.
Okay.
Eventually,
Yeah,
this
because why
was
the fuck do
increased
you
to
only
3
have
umpires in
one ref anyway?
1994. And in 2023, further increased to 4 umpires, but that obviously hasn't helped the high number of poor umpiring decisions that continue to be made. Hotel manager Leon Larkin founded State of Origin in 1977, with players
Okay.
split into teams based on the state they played most of their junior footy in. Sadly, the tournament only lasted 20 years, with the last match between
Wow.
Victoria and South Australia
South
in
Australia.
1999.
Damn,
However, a
121 to
tribute
67, they
match
got an
was
ass
played in
whooping too.
2008 between the
Victoria
Dream Team
versus
and
the Dream Team.
Victoria to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Australian rules football.
The Dream
John
Team probably
Coleman
was
kicked 12
dominating.
goals on debut in 1949, 120 goals in just his second season the next year, and won premierships in both of these years. The man could have won 3 premierships in a row had he not been controversially suspended for the 1951 grand final.
Oh,
So
what
it
he
seems
doing in
fitting that in
1951?
1981, the Coleman Medal was created, given to the player who kicks the most goals in the home and away season.
What did he do in 1951? We can't just glaze over that, brother. We got some we got some research to do. We got some history to do.
This ensures Coleman's legacy will never be forgotten. 1981 was the
Shout out
same
to John
year
Coleman,
that the
though.
first VFL national draft was held, and it used pretty much the exact
Damn,
same
1981 was the
drafting
first
system that we
draft?
use today. The team that finished last in the 1981 season got the first pick, second to
Okay.
last got the second pick, and so on.
And so on and so forth.
1982
Makes sense.
was the same year that South Melbourne relocated to Sydney, and thus the Sydney Swans were born. But it would be 23 long years until the club would break a record 72-year premiership drought.
Damn, they have
Brisbane
damn
Bears and
72
West
years
Coast
is
Eagles
crazy.
were both formed in 1986.
The Brisbane Bears and the West Coast Eagles. So did the Fitzroy Lions and the Brisbane Bears, did they combine? Is that what happened?
And joined the VFL for the 1987 season.
Okay.
The VFL changed its name to the AFL in 1990, preparing for a huge influx of interstate teams set to soon enter the league. These
Okay.
included Adelaide in
Adelaide
1991,
Crows.
Fremantle in 1995, and Port and Brisbane in 1997. West Coast
Adelaide
1992
and
grand
Brisbane
final
Lions.
win over Geelong by 28 points made them the first club outside of Victoria to win a premiership. The VFL was truly
Shout out to
starting to
them.
become the AFL. Western Australia quickly saw more representation, with Fremantle joining the AFL in 1995. In 1996, the Brisbane Bears and
1996.
Fitzroy Lions officially merged to create the Brisbane Lions.
Ah,
Teams
I
outside
knew
of
it.
Victoria began to see tremendous amounts of success at the AFL level. Adelaide became the first South Australian club to win a premiership with their 31-point win over North Melbourne in the 1997 grand final.
Okay, so
Brisbane-
the Adelaide Crows won the first AFL premiership.
And quickly followed suit with their 26-point win over Essendon, securing them the 2001 premiership, making them the first Queensland-based club to do so.
Okay, so they won the second
Finally,
one.
Sydney's 4-point 2005 grand final win over West Coast, thanks to Leo Barry, marked the first premiership for a New South Wales AFL team. The Gold Coast Suns were established in 2009, playing their first ever game against Carlton in round 2 of the 2011 season.
Round 2, okay.
Where they were thumped by 119 points.
Damn!
Although Gold Coast received the wooden spoon that year, only winning 3 games for the entire season, the AFL thought, hey, why not bring a second new team into the league? And so, the GWS Giants were born.
What was that, like 2012?
The club was officially formed in 2009.
Oh, 2009.
But they were forced to wait 3 years for a league debut, which eventually came in round 1 of the 2012 season.
So round 1 of the 2012 season is when they debuted, okay.
They were destroyed by 63 points. The AFL introduced the AFLW in September 2016. The first game commenced in February the next year.
Why do you have a game, and what did they say it was, 1916, and then not have another female game or not put in another league until 2016? That's insane. That's insane, bro. The women's game probably could have been grew to a different type of level already.
Where Carlton demolished Collingwood by 35 points, a huge margin for AFLW standards. Half of the 8 teams in 35? That first round couldn't score more than 2 goals, while the 3 games only attracted 24,000 people. Signs that the AFLW had a lot to overcome, both skill and crowd-wise. The AFLW
she got crushed.
10 teams in 2019, with the addition of Geelong and North Melbourne.
Okay.
The next year saw more teams join the competition.
Who else? With the Melbourne Demons?
Richmond, St Kilda, and the West Coast Eagles.
Okay.
By 2023, every single AFL club had their own AFLW team.
That's smart.
The 2017 match between Gold Coast and Port at Jiangwan Stadium in Shanghai, China, was Gillon McLaughlin's plan to leave the AFL's mark on the international stage. And it turned out okay. A crowd of 10,000 people was amazing for the first game in a new country. But Port's 72 thumping of Gold Coast definitely bored the crowd.
72
However,
points.
I'm sure Justin Westhoff's free goal out of mid won back a few fans. The 2020 season saw the AFL change for the worst, thanks to the pandemic.
Damn.
The repercussions were that quarters were shortened to 16 minutes, the season was shut down for months on end, teams were forced to isolate, and the grand final was played at the Gabba in Brisbane. Not to mention, it was a night grand final.
A night grand final?
New rules were introduced for
What's wrong with a night grand final?
AFL season that completely changed how the game was played. The stand rule was the most influential of these, penalising defenders who moved while on the mark. This has led to so many 50-metre penalties in recent years that
they can't get set,
and it's an issue that the AFL needs to address immediately.
They gotta. That's like a questionable. That's questionable.
History of the AFL in just 15 minutes.
Shout out to my boy Kayleen WVid. That's the entire video of the AFL history. Of course, I'm going to have to do some more research and things like that on how things shaked out, especially with John Coleman in 1951. But if you like this reaction video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And again, shout out to Kayleen. And if you are an American, make sure you subscribe and you watch Kayleen's channel to learn and get educated about footy. I'll catch you on the next video.